Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about delegation and how to empower your own future with this particular supervisory superpower. And I'm really excited about this because so many leaders struggle with delegation for a number of different reasons. And we're going to get into some of those here in a minute. But as you already know, I'm Dr. Connie, the founder and chief futurist of WILD Innovation, a strategic foresight and leadership development firm really focused on helping leaders create more purposeful futures. Okay, that took a minute, but we're going to keep going. We have a lot of different feelings and thoughts about delegation, just like we have a lot of different feelings and thoughts about the future. Those are negative, but also can be positive. And so we want to really focus on reframing any negative thoughts we have about delegation into more positive ones. So, what really is delegation? Delegating is entrusting a task or responsibility to another person, typically to someone less senior than yourself. So, it's really delegating to members of your team or people that work under you in an organizational chart or setting. Delegation actually does help you create this more purposeful future because it strengthens your power and well being. And P.S., it also empowers your team. So, how does it strengthen your power? Well, I work with a lot of especially female leaders on how to step into your power. And part of stepping into your power is really owning your position and really helping empower your team to do well on their own. So, you're not micromanaging or doing everything, but rather you're empowering everybody, including yourself. So, I want you just to kind of take a minute. And think to yourself, how well do you actually delegate? Are you at one, or it's sort of like, oh man, I tell you what, I struggle with it. I don't know what I'm doing. Are you three, a little bit neutral about it? I do all right, but maybe not all the time. Are you a five, or yeah, I've already got the superpower down? So just take a minute. How well do you delegate now? And what's your goal? I think this is the thing, right? We want to make sure that when we take professional development or work on something, we're actually improving and experimenting all the time. So here are our learning objectives for delegation. One, we want to explore delegation as a supervisory superpower. Then we want to learn how to delegate effectively and efficiently. And finally, three, we want to practice what we learn. So why is delegating a supervisory superpower? Well, I like to say delegation creates the win-win-win. First, it's a win for employees because they actually know what to do at work. Their roles and responsibilities are clear, and the communication is clear around that. It's also a win again for supervisors. Like, let's delegate, take some of the load off of us. So really help people like just create a well-oiled machine that makes the organization work. And that's why it's a win for organizations. The win even more is that when we're all doing what we do best, when we're all clear on what we're supposed to be doing and we're all communicating and trusting, you know what? The organization wins, and so do our customers. So, delegation, the empowering employees. Just so you know, and I know if you've worked with me before, we've all talked about this. Why do employees leave their job? The number one reason employees leave their job is because they don't feel valued or fulfilled at work. And so it's really important for us as leaders and supervisors to focus on that fulfillment. As supervisors, we must intentionally manage our own time, energy, emotions as well. And we've got to keep our energy up. And we only have so much bandwidth in a day, a week, a month, or even a year. But we really want to help people to connect with their purpose to be successful, right? So we have to manage our time, energy, emotions, people, and purpose to be successful. I just wanted to repeat that because it's such an important part of this conversation. And remember, delegation empowers you too. It's so important that we all feel like we're empowered in organizations and doing our best, but also that we're valued at work, right? We want to engage the time, talents, strengths, sense of purpose, and personal fulfillment for all employees, including ourselves. And that's how we make delegation a win for the organizations. And again, also the customers. I know it seems kind of like hard to believe, but I've done a lot of research around purpose that's really how my world started in the area of leadership development is that I found that purpose and personal fulfillment actually serve as the source for motivation for people. And as I've done more research, I've also realized, it improves your quality of life, but it also literally adds years to your life. Research shows this. If we have a strong sense of purpose, we add years to our lives, and it increases our well-being, and it increases just the quality of our life in general. So that's why purpose is so important. Another thing to remember, as supervisors, we're leaders. That's just the truth. And again, we establish microcultures for our teams. Many of you have heard me talk about this if you've worked with me in the past. It's really important for us as supervisors to think about, okay, what do we want the culture of our team to be? I might not be able to control the whole organization, but I can control and establish a microculture for my team that everybody wants to be a part of. We establish a positive and productive microculture if we delegate, and create a negative one if we don't. Why is that? Because, sometimes you don't delegate, you just feel tired, right? Feel like you're doing everything, you have too much on your plate. But also, we actually disempower people if we don't delegate to them, because a lot of times they don't feel like they're valued enough. Maybe they're not skilled enough. So we want to make sure to empower them in a way that works for them. So why do we avoid delegation? Why, as supervisors, leaders, managers, do we try to avoid it? We think it's just easier to do ourselves. Sometimes we're like, oh man, I think I just want to get this done. So it's just easier. We want to feel indispensable, right? It makes us feel better about ourselves if we think we're the only ones that can do it, right? We enjoy completing things and prefer not to delegate them. So again, getting it crossed off the to-do list. We feel guilty about it. This is a huge issue for a lot of the female leaders I work with. They don't want to delegate because they feel like maybe they are all going to think I'm better than them, or they think I'm, grown into this position. I just got promoted and now I can't delegate, and it would just, everyone's going to think I think I'm better than they are. That's not true at all. In fact, it's the quite the opposite. People are expecting that you will delegate to them if they're showing up and being a good employee, and if you're creating that microculture of positivity and purpose. We lack confidence and trust in our team members. Maybe we don't know them that well. Maybe we've had some things happen that haven't gone very well. And so we've got to be a little bit careful about that. And I want to also say, it's also sometimes that we believe we are the only ones who can do the job the right way. This kind of goes back to being easier to just do it ourselves. We have to be really careful about that, right? In a lot of ways, I'm going to move myself over there. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of different ways to do things, but some of us really like to do things a certain way, and that can interfere with where we're trying to go. The number one challenge for supervisors and leaders is lack of time, and lack of time equates to lack of energy. And that's why learning to empower others through delegation is so important. So the number one solution, if you want more energy and time, is to set priorities and learn to delegate. Very important, right? This really helps us avoid burnout, which is a huge issue for the workplace, as we've had a hard time recruiting people, training people, etc. We want to make sure our well-being is intact. So we've explored delegation as a supervisory superpower. Now we want to focus on learning how to delegate effectively and efficiently. What I teach is the WILD method of delegation. We want to win with many moonshots, intentionally innovate, let everyone's light shine, and dare to lead differently. First, we want to win with many moonshots. Your top priorities and goals. And I like to establish these every day, but also through the week or month. Those bigger moonshots are the weekly or monthly moonshots. But every day I like to say, okay, what are the top priorities and goals for today? And honestly, what I find with myself, but also other leaders, is we can get about 3 of those done a day while we're trying to put out other fires and handle so many other things that come up during the day. So I want you to put this to a little practice. Get out a sheet of paper, and I want you to write down 3 mini moonshots you need to get done today. Those 3 absolute things that must happen before the end of your workday. So you can pause the video, I'm going to give you a quick minute here, but I want you to write down 3 mini moonshots you need to get done today. We're going to use these here in just a second. All right, once you have those mini moonshots written down, I want you to think about intentionally innovating by coaching your employees. We want to make sure we're amplifying that trust and understanding, right? Growing that piece of the puzzle, building in expectations and accountability, and also creating small experiments. Because guess what? Breaking someone's trust is like crumpling up a perfect piece of paper. You can smooth it over, but it's never going to be the same again. And I think that's such an important point to remember, right? Trust is something that is either gained or lost over time, but once you really break it, it's hard to get it back, if ever. So how do we establish expectations and accountability? We have to clearly communicate the role, who, responsibilities, the what, the dates, when, the purpose, why, any metrics associated with delegating, and any other items that might come up around the delegation. So being very specific and building in that accountability is really, really important, especially if you find that somebody on your team is challenged with delegation or that the communication isn't great. Make sure you're being very clear about what you want, when you want it done by, and who should do it, but also why are you doing it? Sometimes this gets missed because people want to know why they're doing something. They don't want to feel like it's just a menial task, but they want to know why it's being done. And share what you can around that, but also metrics, right? Do you need, 5 of something done? What are you trying to achieve? Do you need so many dollars worth of products sold? What does that look like? Anytime you can build in that sort of accountability and those goals for others, it really helps. And do that together so you're establishing these communications together. Create small experiments. And I love this part because we need to do this for ourselves as leaders and really have some grace for ourselves when things go wrong, right? Kind of like at the beginning of my video. So we want to create small experiments. We want to delegate those fail-safe tasks, things, especially with new employees or people we don't know or new to our team. Things that, we know that if something goes wrong, we're all learning from it and we do better the next time. Because that's part of delegation too, is learning together from success and failure. And then we repeat the process and we continue to grow and evolve. So get back those 3 mini moonshots you wrote down earlier, get those out. And I want you to try a small experiment with these, right? Use instant messaging, email, or whatever it is you use in your organization to delegate 1 mini moonshot to the person on your team that should own it. So I want you to take something that you have to get done that maybe somebody else can do, right? I'm going to challenge yourself on this. You probably wrote down something that you think you had to do, but I want you to pick something on that list and I want you to delegate to somebody else. And again, build in those expectations and accountability, due dates, numbers, whatever detail you can share would be great. So we've done that. This is our small experiment moving forward, right? We've delegated a fail-safe task. We're going to learn from this and we're going to repeat and grow. Because again, we're getting to that win-win-win, right? We want to win for our team members and our employees, us as supervisors and leaders, but also our organizations and our customers. So where are we going to go next? We are going to let everyone's light shine. We want to share and celebrate success. So often this gets missed, right? It seems like we should do this, but a lot of times we don't take the time because we're so busy. We just go to the next item. Why is this so important? Because it recognizes contributions, right? Just like we said in the beginning, right? I talked about in the beginning, the number one reason people leave their organizations is of that lack of acknowledgement of their contributions, right? They don't feel valued in the workplace. We also want to create momentum, right? We want to keep the momentum going and track our progress. Sometimes it's really easy to think we haven't done much, or if we're tracking that progress, we're like, oh, wow, look what we all accomplished this year. Taking a minute to soak that in. Who did what? How did they contribute? This can be fun. And I think that's one thing sometimes we're missing in organizations. We're also serious about what we're doing, which is important, but we also want to take a minute and just feel the joy and enjoyment of accomplishment and doing well before we move on to the next thing. Okay, again, we're going to get those 3 mini moonshots out that we wrote down earlier, and we went ahead and delegated, right? We built in expectations and accountability. Now, I want you to think about this celebrating success. So when that 1 mini moonshot is completed, how can you share and celebrate success with that? Whether that's with that one person or the whole team, depending on what that little experiment was. Just want you to think about that. Make a note of it on your mini moonshots list. But how can you as a leader really establish that microculture of celebration and success? Footnote, that doesn't always need to come from you, right? The goal would be that comes from others as well, not just from the top, but also that your own employees learn to celebrate you as a leader. Sometimes it gets a little lonely at the top, or when we're the leader, people don't tend to say much to us. So make sure you're creating that microculture that you all want to experience. All right, we explored delegation as a supervisory superpower. We learned how to delegate effectively and efficiently, and we practiced a bit of what we've learned. And I want you to continue that practice. I want you to dare to lead differently, right? Give yourselves permission to win, to pursue your purposeful futures by taking wild, inspired, natural actions. And I want you just to think of one right now that you will take to practice delegating and to grow as a leader so that you yourselves are out there doing great things. And you continue to learn. Again, giving yourself a little grace, but practicing and learning every time, because sometimes it's going to go well, sometimes it might not go as well, but every time you're going to learn as a leader as well. Ultimately, the goal here is to build that effective team that has camaraderie and trust and enjoys doing things together. And everybody's clear about their roles, their responsibilities, and they're in their strengths doing great work. This is so, so important. All right. So if anybody is out there and if anyone needs anything from me, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, contact me. I'd love to hear from you and how your process of delegation is going. Thanks for listening and good luck on your supervisory leadership delegation journey.